Hello everyone. I am trying to sort out a technical thing. Wait a moment. Alright. So, welcome to our Wednesday with Redes de Tutoría. I am really excited to have you join us. We are right now in Huaxtepec, which is a city it's a town in Mexico. And we are here because there's a meeting with different educators and different personalities from all around Mexico here. My name is Anna Paula Herrera, and I am a learning advisor and public relations liaison in Redes de Tutoría. And I started Redes de Tutoría about, a year ago. I joined Redes de Tutoría, but Redes de Tutoría has existed for more than 20 years. It has been actually present in a lot of different countries, but it started in Mexico with Gabriel Cámara. Gabriel Cámara is the founder. He has worked in education for more than 50, 60 years. And he is not here today, but I will speak on his behalf as well. Redes de Tutoría is a Mexican innovation that is really transforming education, and it wants to change education in order to make education more interesting, more interest-based, and more based on the interest of every child. First of all, I would like you to think about how would you describe schools, or how do you think that, do you remember that you felt at school? You can comment, or you can ask me anything during this whole process. And I also want to just explain what we are going to do. We are going to first talk about what is Redes de Tutoría, about its pedagogy, and about the impact. We are going to talk about how it is different from schools and different pedagogies and conventional education. And we're going to talk about the cycle of the tutoría. And we are also going to see some testimonies, because since we are now in Huaxtepec in this national meeting with over 200 educators and tutors, and everyone in here is really immersed in the tutoría model, we are going to see a little bit of their process and ask them questions. But first of all, I'm going to tell you a little bit of what Redes de Tutoría is about. And this whole interview will last about maybe 15-20 minutes. We'll see. So, Redes de Tutoría, which in English means tutorial networks, is a pedagogy that was born about 20 years ago, and it started in the most rural places in Mexico, because Mexico is a place where there's a lot of inequality, and you can see this specifically in schools as well. So instead of adapting pedagogies or innovations directly from other countries or other places, Redes de Tutoría saw that there are different aspects in the most rural communities that can perfectly transform into impactful and powerful innovations. So the premise of tutoría is that everyone is capable of teaching and everyone is capable of learning something. So it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your context, you always know something, and if you know something well, you are always capable of teaching it to others. And Gabriel Cámara, the founder of Redes de Tutoría, he was convinced that that when there is interest and there is will, true learning happens. If you have a tutor or someone guiding you who knows the subject well and who is willing to teach you. However, in Tutoría, the tutor does not give answers directly. The tutor always guides you to arrive to a certain answer or to construct your own learning. Because in the end, the powerful thing about learning or about going to school should be learning to learn and becoming a lifelong learner. So when Tutoría started, it was first implemented in around 400 community centers, education centers, with CONAFE, which is a national council for education promotion in Mexico. And they went to the most marginalized areas of Mexico where there was like a really big need of improving education. So they what they did was they started giving like certain topics to pupils and see that all of them became really well, that they could dominate, that they could learn at least one subject well, one theme, and then they would become able of teaching it to other people. And in like the next year, in 1997, actually, they started implementing this pedagogy in the most marginalized schools within the education system in Mexico. So these were post-primary schools, and they realized that these schools that had the lowest results in Mexico started improving little by little because the dynamics within the school changed. The Tutoría cycle is very different from conventional schooling. So instead of having a teacher that tells you what to do, what to learn, how to learn, and that gives you a certain rhythm, in Tutoría, it is the students who decide what they want to learn, how they want to learn it, and it's always a one-to-one dialogue. So in the beginning, there is a certain catalog of topics. So a teacher or an education leader, someone who has already like a certain catalog of different subjects, for example, of maths and natural sciences, social sciences, etc., it can offer to a certain pupil or to a group of pupils these different subjects, and students themselves, they decide, I want to learn, I don't know, this subject in maths, or I want to learn about the Mexican Revolution, or I want to learn about this poem of Neruda. So once they choose this topic, the tutor and the tutee sit on a one-to-one dialogue, and this dialogue can last 2 hours, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks. So when they have this dialogue in the beginning, the tutor asks the tutee, why did you choose this topic? How do you think this specific subject works in the real life, etc. And students then start to tell, I'm interested in this because my mom likes, I don't know, likes this author or likes this subject, etc. So then it really breaks with the dynamic of having always teachers or different authorities telling you what you should learn and why. So when the pupil already has chosen what they want to learn, they start having this dialogue and they write about their learning process. And there comes a point where the tutor says, okay, now you are ready to go learn autonomously. And then starts the research part. So the student then goes wherever they want. They can go home, they can go to the library, wherever, and they start doing some research about the certain subject, and they come back and forth with the tutor. They can ask their families. They involve the whole community, their colleagues, their peers, and they start doing a whole analysis of their learning process. Once the tutor sees that the tutee has achieved a certain point of understanding, or that the tutee feels that they already have grasped the subject, then they prepare, or the tutee prepares a certain public presentation. And this is a very important part of the tutoría process, because it involves communication skills, it involves trust in yourself and self-confidence, and being able to be vulnerable in front of others. So the tutee goes in front of the classroom, they invite the parents, the tutee's parents, and they then start presenting what they learned, how they learned it, what they still want to learn, what went well, what was difficult, or however they felt that the learning process went. And this public presentation also can serve as some sort of evaluation. So the others in this, or cross-examination, because the teacher and other pupils in there, they say, well, you did this well, maybe you can improve this or that, and it really becomes a strong community. A really important aspect is that the parents are involved, so, or the family members, or even your neighbors can go to see this public presentation. So the school becomes a place for everyone to be part and be involved in the learning process of others. The tutoría model also has open doors for families. So it is very common that parents or that other people that are not registered in the school, they can attend and they can be tutored in whatever subject they want. So it is often parents and family members who don't know, for example, even how to read or write, go back to school and learn together with their children how to learn, how to write, how to or whatever, from whatever subject they're interested in. And this is a really revolutionary way of seeing education, because education has been stuck for so long, and there's always been like this really hierarchical dynamic where people on the top tell you what to do and how to do it, and then they divide you in different classes, different subjects, always with the same rhythm. But tutoría is always respecting the interests, the freedom, your autonomy. It fosters your self-confidence, your communication skills, and a sense of belonging, which is really important in contexts like the Mexican. This is why Redes de Tutoría has been spreading elsewhere as well in the world. Now Redes de Tutoría is present in Chile, in Argentina, also in Thailand, in Indonesia. It has been present in the United States, and the network keeps growing. So now I'm going to take you to see how it is working. We'll have to be a bit quiet in the room where where some people are now, the tutors and tutees are, well, tutoring one another, because these are the education administrators or education promoters and assessors that will next year, start after the summer, they will start tutoring future education leaders in different communities, in over 35,000 communities in Mexico, so that wait, yes, it's here. More and more children in primary schools, in preschool, and in other secondary schools are capable of then learning in a new way. I think it's here.
Hola.
Hola. So, ¿sabes dónde está Juan Pedro? Okay, so here there are different leaders, education leaders, who are tutoring one another. Hola.
Estamos allá de aquí,
Okay.
en la entrada.
Ya.
¿Tú me dices?
Aquí.
Ah, muy bien.
So this is Juan Pedro,
Hola.
and he is one of the assessors in CONAFE, in the National Unit of Education Promotion. And he's tutoring some subject.
Que me costó trabajo traducir fue el which. Yo separaba las palabras mencionando quién es, y desde luego con el tutor mencionaba que si nosotros partimos de lo general o lo particular, como los idiomas.
So he's tutoring his tutee in an assignment which is in English,
Con la orientación del lector, que quiere decir lo cual es
and he's asking about vocabulary. How does he relate some words in this text?
Que consideras que es importante.
bueno, también hay que decir, dice que todo el texto es interesante.
He's asking what he considered interesting in this text to share with others or in his learning process.
Pues y luego, ¿cómo te sientes ahora?
Contento.
Sí, qué bueno.
Satisfecho.
He feels very satisfied.
El cual lo he estado trabajando, lo había trabajado. Ahora me llevo una noción más amplia de cómo poder trabajarlo con mis compañeros.
And he's saying that he feels very satisfied with his learning process and that it's a very different way of learning for him.
¿Qué te gustaría a ti compartir con tus demás compañeros? Es decir, ya pensando en tu demostración pública, ¿qué es lo fundamental que te gustaría compartir con ellos?
Bueno, el aprendizaje más significativo.
He's asking what he wants to share with others.
En las frases idiomáticas me parece que se llama, donde hay dos palabras que en conjunto hacen una idea. Entonces, eso es lo que me gustaría compartir con mis compañeros. Pues igual, de alguna manera, tratarles también de hacerles ver de que no todo lo vamos a relacionar.
I'm going to translate in a while.
Sino que lo podemos agrupar de acuerdo a la oración en que estemos trabajando.
So he's talking about how sharing this, about how important would be for him to share his experience of how learning wording and how making different sentences with different vocabulary that he has learned is important. And I'm going to ask if we can interview them for a little bit
carrera es. Sí. Puede ser carrera de caballos, puede ser carrera de rodeo, puede ser carrera de autos.
Bien.
¿Puedo hacerle unas preguntas? Okay, so I will interrupt a little bit their dialogue just to ask him some questions that maybe you guys might have or that I will ask him. ¿Te puedo hacer un par de preguntas?
Sí,
muy bien. Bueno, ¿cuál es el tema que tú escogiste?
La unidad se llama Fuerza y Movimiento. Estamos trabajando el texto en inglés. Es un desafío.
Okay, so the subject that he chose is force and movement, and it's a topic that he chose, and it's in English, y es de ciencias.
Sí, del campo formativo de exploración y comprensión del mundo natural.
And it's a topic that he chose from exploration and understanding of the natural world. ¿Y cuáles son tus propósitos con este programa? ¿Cuáles son tus propósitos al haber entrado con la relación tutora o el modelo ABCD?
El propósito principal fue trabajar este texto en inglés para llevarme un panorama de cómo se trabaja. Si bien ya lo había trabajado anteriormente, pero ahora me gustó trabajarlo incluso con el compañero Juan Pedro para poder tener una referencia más amplia de cómo poder llevarlo a cabo con mis compañeros.
So he wants to have a bigger panorama of this specific text. So he now is talking about his goals with this text specifically, and how to teach it with with fellow peers in his community. ¿Y qué es lo que te gusta o qué ves tú de diferencia en la manera de aprender con redes de tutoría? So I'm asking him how he sees Red Tutoría differently with other education ways of learning, other ways of learning.
Bueno, que a través de la red de tutoría el conocimiento es más concreto, más preciso. A veces es muy diferente trabajar algún tema en específico en inglés. A través de esta red de tutoría me puedo llevar grandes conocimientos muy significativos, que quiere decir que no me voy a olvidar de ellos así, tan simple, ¿no? Tan fácil, sino que a través de este texto que estuvimos trabajando con mi tutor, pues vamos a estar adquiriendo mayor conocimiento y asimismo pues transmitirlo también a lo que son mis compañeros.
Okay, so he sees Redes de Tutoría as a way of teaching in a very specific ways and very concrete ways, and he says that it's a way that he can very concretely take to other people. ¿Y tú ves que sea diferente la relación en cómo lo aprendes en una escuela convencional?
Sí, es muy diferente porque en una escuela convencional ahora sí que a veces por la cantidad de alumnos aprende el que de por sí va a aprender, y en la red de tutoría pues todos vamos aprendiendo.
Okay. He says that in Redes de Tutoría everyone is learning all the time, while in other schools you learn from, well, with a specific path that is que te imponen, ¿no? Perdón, dijiste que te imponen en la otra educación, te pasan el ritmo. Yeah, that in different ways.
It's aprende el que lo va a aprender solamente.
Yeah, that in other types of education it's an imposed way of learning. Oye, ¿cómo crees que la gente pueda apoyar o hacer como fomentar el proyecto de la relación tutora?
¿Cómo podemos implementar este trabajo con los demás compañeros?
Sí, ¿cómo se podría hacer crecer?
Bueno, mediante varias estrategias, ¿no? Otra de las estrategias que trabajamos también aquí en las redes de tutoría es lo de participación en comunidad, donde personas de la comunidad, sean o no sean padres de familia, pero se involucran en actividades de lo que tiene que ver con la red de tutoría también.
Okay. So for him, at least, because he's part of the National Unit of Education Promotion, National Council, for Education Promotion, he says that people can get involved in CONAFE, in this unit, to go to the communities and expand it. But from abroad, it's I believe that it would be about sharing how education can be different and sharing the project of Redes de Tutoría. And I will now go because they have to continue. Sorry. So, bueno, gracias. Nos vemos. Yeah, not to interrupt any longer. But what you can do is just go to redesdetutoria.com and go to Redes de Tutoría's Facebook page and Twitter or Instagram account, and you can contact us, write to us, and share whatever you see in our webpage, in our different social media, and share it with your schools and think about different ways in which you can promote this type of education. And check out HundrED's next WEB-nesdays. They are every Wednesday at different times, and every Wednesday there's a different innovation that you can join and watch, and it's really interesting. Follow HundrED, follow Redes de Tutoría, and let's be in touch. Bye.